1556. On a foggy battlefield in Panipat, a 13-year-old boy stood where blood met fire. His name was Akbar. The world remembers his glory, but few dare to speak of his darkness. What if the truth was never heroic but calculated? Born in 1542 in Amarkot, Akbar lost his father at 13. Thrust into power amid chaos, the boy emperor had to rule an empire on the edge of collapse. There was no time for childhood, only strategy, survival, and war. At Panipat, Akbar faced the mighty Hemu. Though still a boy, he showed ruthless resolve. When victory came, Akbar ordered Hemu's beheading. Was it justice or a glimpse of the emperor he would become? History calls Akbar a tolerant ruler. He abolished the jizya tax, invited Hindu scholars, even debated Jesuits. But was this tolerance or clever politics cloaked in virtue? He married Rajput princesses, not for love, but for loyalty. Every marriage expanded his power, turning enemies into allies. Akbar wasn't just building a harem, he was building a multi-faith empire. In 1568, after a brutal siege, Chittorgarh fell. Thousands of civilians were slaughtered. Some say over 30,000 died. The bloodshed wasn't random, it was a message: defy the Mughals and face annihilation. After conquering Chittor, Akbar ordered temples destroyed, pillars shattered, statues broken. The same man praised for unity also left scars on sacred ground. What did unity truly mean to him? Some legends claim Akbar desecrated a temple by slaughtering sacred cows. Soldiers reportedly threw blood on temple walls. Is this fact, fiction, or a warning of power unchecked? Akbar was no ordinary king. He played politics like chess. Religion, love, and war, every move calculated. Was it genius or manipulation beneath a noble mask? One tale speaks of Akbar sitting beneath a tree, listening to a poor farmer. No guards, no gold, just a king and a man, a rare glimpse of empathy in a life of conquest. Power builds legends, but legends hide truths. Akbar's story is one of brilliance and blood, a man remembered for peace but made by war. How should we remember him? History isn't just about kings and conquests. It's about who we choose to believe. Do we glorify greatness or question the cost behind it? If you were Akbar, would you choose the crown or the truth? After Panipat, Akbar's orders were chilling. Enemy heads piled high into a tower of skulls. To some it was war, to others it was terror turned into architecture. What kind of legacy is built on bones? Akbar's dream city, Fatehpur Sikri, was a marvel of red sandstone, symmetry, and vision, but beneath its grandeur was silence. Why did he abandon it within years? Was it a spiritual experiment, or a failed empire within an empire? Behind the sword, Akbar was also a seeker. He created Din-e-Ilahi, his own spiritual path. Neither Islam nor Hinduism, it blended philosophies, but few followed. Was it divine enlightenment or imperial ego? Jesuit priests from Portugal sat face to face with Akbar, debating Jesus, the Trinity, and salvation. He listened, he questioned, but he never converted. His interest? Sincere curiosity or imperial theater? Behind palace curtains, hundreds of wives and concubines lived in Akbar's zenana. But history rarely tells their stories. Who were they, queens or pawns? Did they shape the empire or simply survive it? Every conquest fed the empire's hunger. More land, more taxes, more soldiers. But what of the peasants who paid the price? While Akbar built an empire, many built graves. Among all his courtiers, one name still echoes in folktales. Birbal, wise, witty, Hindu, their friendship was rare in a court of politics. But was it genuine or another act of balance in Akbar's careful empire? Akbar never learned to read or write, yet he ruled through memory and intellect. His library held thousands of manuscripts. Others read to him. Was it limitation or legend-making in its own right? In 1605, after ruling for nearly 50 years, Akbar died in Agra. His body rests in a marble tomb, yet his shadow stretches far beyond stone. Did he die as a saint or a sovereign too complex to define? He left no unified religion, no clear ideology, only a question. Can a ruler be both ruthless and just, tolerant and terrifying? Akbar wasn't perfect, but he was powerful and unforgettable. History is a mirror. It doesn't ask for worship, it asks for understanding. Akbar was not just a man, he was a moment in time full of contradictions, and that is the truth we often overlook. In Himachal, a flame burned for centuries in the Jwalamukhi temple. Akbar tried to extinguish it, but the flame survived. Was it defiance of nature or of the emperor's ego? To make peace, Akbar offered a golden umbrella to the goddess, but legend says it turned into another metal upon offering. Was it divine rejection or poetic resistance? Not all resistance used swords. Some Rajput clans never bowed. They vanished into forests, building secret fortresses, preserving identity through silence. Against Akbar's might, they chose survival over surrender. To the poor, Akbar was sometimes generous. He opened grain stores during famine, listened to complaints from villagers, but even generosity carried the weight of a crown. Was it kindness or careful control? Once a Brahmin scholar debated Akbar publicly, accusing him of spiritual arrogance. Akbar didn't punish him. Instead, he asked more questions. The emperor's power came not only from force, but from listening too. Many chroniclers wrote of the fire in Akbar's eyes, sharp, focused, but unreadable. He could command with silence and destroy with a glance. Those eyes haunted both allies and enemies. Akbar tolerated debate until it became disobedience. Several governors who resisted his reforms were quietly removed. Peace in his empire wasn't free. It came at the cost of silence. Few know that women in Akbar's court, like his mother Hamida and wife Salima, were powerful voices behind the veil. They advised, strategized, and sometimes corrected the emperor himself. Akbar's own son, Salim, later Emperor Jahangir, rebelled against him during his final years. The father built an empire. The son wanted to rule it. Even emperors couldn't conquer family. In Akbar's court, artists painted both glory and grief. One, Daswant, secretly hid pain in his colors. When he died by suicide, whispers filled the court. Not all beauty survives power. The last known painting of Akbar shows him older, tired, thinking. No crown, no sword, just a man staring into the future, as if even he knew. History forgets the man behind the myth. A warrior, a thinker, a tyrant, a visionary. Akbar was all and none of these. He wasn't just a ruler, he was a contradiction wrapped in red silk and silence. And maybe that's why we still talk about him today. One day, court astrologers warned of a cursed alignment. Akbar laughed and rode out anyway. He believed in destiny, not stars. To him, emperors shape fate, not follow it. As a young prince, Akbar once tamed a rogue elephant with nothing but courage. Witnesses say he climbed atop the beast mid-rampage. Was it bravery or the madness of a future emperor? Akbar spoke no script, but mastered every silence. He ruled in Persian, heard in Arabic, governed Hindus and fathered Rajputs. Language was never just words, it was survival. Akbar created his own code, Sulh-e-Kul, peace with all. But it wasn't written in stone, it lived in actions and vanished when successors forgot it. Not all betrayals come from enemies. One of Akbar's half-brothers plotted rebellion, claiming divine visions. Akbar pardoned him once, but power has limits. The second time, he vanished. Though many think men built Fatehpur Sikri, legends whisper of a woman, the emperor's architect, hidden behind a name. Blueprints survive, credit does not. Akbar had many children, most never ruled. Some died young, others faded into palaces silenced by fate. The empire celebrated birth, but mourned quietly when heirs vanished. In his palace, Akbar built a room of mirrors, not for vanity, but for reflection. Some say he'd sit alone at night watching his face multiply. Was he haunted or humbled? Akbar once spared a rebel poet. His verses stung, but they spoke truth. The emperor said, "A sword cuts flesh, a poem cuts deeper." Power feared the pen, but Akbar kept it near. A mystic woman once told Akbar, "Your greatest battle won't be in war, but in memory." He dismissed her. Years later, as friends died and cities crumbled, her words echoed in his silence. By the time Akbar died, he ruled more land than any Mughal before him. But even stone palaces fade. What remains? Not maps, not crowns, just stories in dust. In every portrait, Akbar looks mighty. But behind those eyes was once a boy watching his father die, riding into war, learning to kill before he could read. The crown came early, but so did the scars. Few saw the emperor cry, but when his foster mother Maham Anga died, witnesses recall Akbar locking himself away. For once, there was no sword, no court, just grief, and a boy without his mother. One evening, Akbar passed through the bazaar in disguise. He heard a merchant curse the emperor's taxes. Days later, that region's levy was lowered. No punishment, just silence and a signature. Akbar played politics like chess. He replaced rebellious governors with loyal sons-in-law. Enemies became relatives. Bloodlines turned into battlegrounds. In his empire, family was the deadliest weapon. In Fatehpur Sikri, Akbar built a hall with no windows. Only whispers passed through the stone. It was said to be a place for secrets too dangerous for daylight. Akbar often invited yogis, Sufis, and scholars to debate in his palace. He never interrupted. He let arguments burn and listened through the flame. For him, truth wasn't shouted, it was uncovered. His sons became emperors. His daughters disappeared into history. No names, no stories. Yet they shaped alliances, softened rivalries, and bore the weight of silence that empires never acknowledged. Sheikh Salim Chishti once told Akbar, "An empire is not built by steel, but by patience." Akbar named his son after him. In a world of violence, he sought blessings before blood. One night, Akbar dreamed of fire swallowing his throne. He awoke and donated half his treasury to the poor, not out of fear, but as if wealth meant nothing when compared to fate. Akbar once minted coins without Allah's name. It shocked the empire, but he believed his name should carry the responsibility, not borrow divine approval. A bold move or a quiet rebellion. During a palace fire, a servant rushed in to save holy books instead of treasure. Akbar rewarded him, saying, "Gold can be replaced, truth cannot." That moment was never recorded, only remembered. In his final months, Akbar stopped attending court. He'd vanish for days into gardens, temples, shrines, not in power, but in search. What he sought, he never said. He was a child of war, raised by tutors, tested by fire. By 30, he ruled half the subcontinent. But inside, was he still the lonely boy from Amarkot? A dying courtier once asked Akbar, was it worth it? The emperor reportedly said nothing, only bowed his head. Some answers live not in words, but in the weight of silence. One prisoner asked Akbar why he showed mercy to traitors. Akbar replied, "Because I don't fear them." Power, to him, wasn't in punishment, but in control without cruelty. Akbar broke many customs, but he never killed without reason. Every execution, he claimed, was political, not personal. Yet in private, did the weight of each death ever haunt him? Scholars say Akbar once wrote a letter to a lost friend, never sent, never read. In it, he questioned his faith, his empire, and even himself. A king's confessions, sealed in silence. In Agra, they say the white marble of Akbar's tomb sweats on summer nights. Locals call it the emperor's unspoken sorrow, still rising from stone centuries later. Akbar's court once held over 24,000 manuscripts, Persian, Sanskrit, Arabic, But after his death, many were lost, burned, or stolen. Knowledge once curated by an emperor scattered like ash in wind. They say when Akbar entered a room, his shadow came first. Long, commanding, quiet. Power wasn't just in presence, it was in perception. In one evening, Akbar dined with a Jain monk, a Christian priest, a Muslim Sufi, and a Brahmin scholar. Food was shared, words were tested, no sermon, only seeking. What is justice? What is God? What makes a man noble? These were Akbar's questions, posed not to dominate but to learn. He ruled millions, yet he asked like a student. Akbar's story glows in textbooks, but bleeds in whispers. A hero to some, a tyrant to others. His legacy is not clean, but it is undeniable. Akbar's sword lies silent now, in a Delhi museum behind glass. It no longer conquers, but it still commands awe. Steel rusts, but memory, sharpened by time, cuts deeper. He feared neither war nor death, but ignorance. Akbar once said, "A blind ruler leads blind men into darkness." So he filled his court with thinkers, not flatterers. In Fatehpur Sikri, there's a wall said to honor unknown soldiers, names never carved. Akbar ordered silence for them. Power remembers the powerful, but justice remembers the nameless. Centuries later, in dusty halls and broken temples, stories of Akbar still echo, not because he was perfect, but because he mattered. His flame didn't die, it simply changed hands. Toward the end, Akbar spoke less. Ministers noticed. Orders came through gestures, nods, glances, as if words, after decades of ruling, had lost their power. Silence became his final language. Fatehpur Sikri, once his grand vision, lies mostly empty now. Birds sing where soldiers once marched, yet the city waits, like a story paused, not forgotten. Akbar won many wars, but what did victory leave behind? Burned villages, broken families, empty temples. He ruled an empire of gold, but inherited ghosts. The Yamuna still flows past Akbar's tomb. Locals say its waters whisper his name, not in fear, not in praise, but in memory. Some legacies live not in stone, but in movement. On his final night, Akbar asked for no music, no prayers, just an open window. Witnesses say he looked at the stars and smiled, a ruler of land at peace under sky. Power dazzles, it blinds, but Akbar, for all his faults, learned one truth. A crown is not given by God, it's borrowed from time, and time always takes it back. His temples faded, his cities cracked, but stories, they live. In your voice, in your questions, in your screen, Akbar's legacy is not over because now you carry it.